Hi, I'm Cyrus Crone, your host of Issaquah Daily Interviews. And today we're interviewing Jonathan Smith, who has been working around the community to create some community efforts to help clean up our neighborhoods. Jonathan, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Cyrus. And I'm happy to be here.
I found you, we connected via email, and you had reached out about your walks with a purpose. I think this all began when you were taking your dog for regular walks around the community. Can you tell us how this all started and what you're doing?
Yes, we have a great dog. Her name is Libby. We've had her for about 12 years, and we've been walking her twice daily. She's a bit of a reactive dog, so we look for places where there's not a lot of other dogs. So as a result of that, I tend to walk her around through the commercial areas of Issaquah, kind of down along Gilman Boulevard, Newport Way, those areas, and then over by Lowe's and the Costco area. So we've been walking the dog and a lot. We've crisscrossed this town. We've been through all the parks and just about everywhere. But recently, in the last couple of years, I really noticed an uptick in how much litter I find in the area, and I just began picking it up in bags as I go along, and I could really notice a difference, and I really felt good about it. But one thing I realized is that I'd clean up an area, and then just 10 days to 2 weeks later, it would be trashed again. So I kind of felt like I was doing a good thing, but I needed help to keep it going and spread it to a wider area. So that's when I decided to get organized.
Okay, and you're conducting these activities in a volunteer capacity, and you're the sole entity behind this. You're looking to recruit volunteers to help you clean up respective areas. Can you share a little bit about what your plans are for the coming year?
So what I've done is I started working with the city, talked to the council and the mayor, and I've just decided to go get this organized and do it monthly. Some of the civic organizations do these litter cleanups once a year, generally around Earth Day or in the summertime. But I felt that it needed to be done monthly just to keep on top of it. So my plan is to host a litter cleanup the first Saturday of every month at 9 a.m. And we'll just meet at a location. The current location we're meeting at is the post office on Northwest Gilman Boulevard. We meet there at 9. I usually bring some coffee and donuts. People meet up there, and we will branch out from there and spend an hour or so picking up litter.
It's a pretty convenient location because people can disperse over towards Safeway and westbound and then eastbound to Front Street and that area. I've noticed that there's an inordinate amount of trash on the off ramp there coming off of I-90, but that's Washington State Department of Transportation property that's fenced in. So maybe we can get them to open up their fence for you. But yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, we mainly focus on, the walkways, the sidewalks, the areas around the commercial areas, pick up a lot of trash along the roads. I'm trying to stay safe, stay out of the traffic, and pick up areas where people walk and spend their days, jogging and such and such.
Well, speaking of staying safe, you should probably also stay dry. But I've noticed that because we care so deeply about our salmon here and our habitat, a lot of the sensitive areas, waterways, streams, tributaries are pretty riddled with plastic and trash as well. Are you doing anything to address the waterways, or is that a completely separate endeavor?
Well, there are a lot of waterways that feed the Issaquah Creek. There's a lot of retaining ponds and drainage ditches that do need picked up, and I do spend some time cleaning up those areas as well. Most notably along Northwest Gilman Boulevard in front of the Commons shopping areas. There's some ditches there that are just littered with lots of plastic and fast food restaurant. Sorry about that. That's the
almost time for a walk.
Yes, almost time for a walk.
Yeah. So you mentioned at the outset of this conversation, you really noticed an increase about 2 years ago. That coincides with the start of COVID. And there've been a lot of just tragedies and human stories that are sad to recount, but whether it's socioeconomic status, homelessness, certainly seen an influx in issues around the community, crime, homelessness, et cetera, theft. I know these are big issues that you can't tackle yourself, but I mean, do you think there's a correlation between the timing of when COVID hit and the increase, or just a byproduct of population density? Do you have any thoughts on how this is all occurring?
I absolutely do think there's a correlation. Stacy Goodman wrote an article this week that you published on the Daily,
Yeah.
and about shopping carts, and it was just spot on. What I've noticed in the area that we typically walk is this area between the Issaquah Commons area. That's where Target and Trader Joe's and some of the other stores are, and the transit center. So I've seen quite a bit of litter reoccurring in those areas. And we have, a lot of times on my walks, I'll come home and I think about what can I do? And, I've written letters to the Target Corporation and others to try to get them to address these areas. And I'm super excited to see that the city is getting involved now and working with Target to work on the shopping cart issue that we see. But it's all related to that. Yes. I don't think that a lot of this litter is generated by residents and people who live here. Now there are a lot of litter around the parks that's associated with children, but it's not adults that are doing it, not adults that actually live and work here.
Well, I think residents of Issaquah, I speak for myself and hopefully the rest of the community, love the plush green, beautiful topography we have here. And yeah, I don't think that our community are the ones that are doing the bulk.
When I first started doing these walks, my first goal, my major objective was I was picking up a lot of single-use plastic containers. And I started approaching our lawmakers at the city, county, and state levels to try to find ways where we could reduce the use of single-use plastics, maybe putting a ban on the sale of them, and which seems kind of crazy, but my son recently moved to Oregon. I've noticed that they have a deposit that's charged on those types of containers, and that's another thing that could be done. And I am going to work with our legislator to try to make that happen. But I realize those kind of things take a long time to enact. For example, the plastic bag ban took 12 years to enact. And so that's my major, high level objective is try to figure out a way to reduce plastic waste.
I don't know about you, but when I go shopping, and in some states in Canada, you get 5 cents back when you return a glass bottle. And, when times are tight and you go and return that case and you get a few bucks back credited towards your next purchase, it's just, it's money in your pocket. So,
yeah, it's just another way to kind of encourage people to do the right thing.
Well, I think you're a lot more prone to save that glass bottle when you got a nickel coming back to you.
Yeah.
Than throwing it in the garbage. First off, thank you for the amount of trash that you're picking up, and I know you're not a solo act. There are a few others in the community, and I think you're teaming up with someone we can talk about in a minute, but beyond the single-use plastic, are there other things that you're seeing? And are you ever coming across needles or anything that are biohazards or things that the community should at least be aware of when they're out in the summer in their flip-flops?
Oh, yes, I am seeing that. We are seeing that quite a bit. So that is something to be careful about. And, we there are ways that you could, take photographs of those. If you don't want to pick them up, if you don't have a means to dispose of them carefully, you can take a photograph of them and report them to the Issaquah city through the IssaquahWashington.gov website, and they will send somebody out to pick them up. But yeah, there is quite a bit of that out there. It's unfortunate to see, but it's it's not. I can't solve that problem, but we can clean up those things and get them out of here. One of the things that we'll do to take care of those is maybe if you have a plastic bottle with you that you've picked up, a soft drink bottle, you can carefully break off the needle and put it inside the bottle before you put it in a trash can so that it doesn't hurt somebody.
Thank you for that advice. And I advise anyone to proceed with caution when they're touching those needles, and maybe leave it to
we can leave it to the pros.
Leave it to the pros, but nonetheless, if it's of concern and you want to deal with it, you probably should. I follow Twitter very closely, and the concerns that you're sharing about the commons and the foot traffic between Target and the transit center seem to be shared in the Highlands as well. Dick's Sporting Goods and those stores, people are taking the carts and going to the Highlands Transit Center. These are issues that you're not going to be able to address. We're not going to be able to stop. I think more people in the community that share their concerns with council, it'll become more top of mind. But let's stick to the here and now. You're conducting these cleanup days. You began calling them walk with a purpose, which was for the single use, but I think it's expanded now into just what do you refer to these as? Just pick up Saturdays? Or
that's funny that you should say that. I'm talking with my wife and we're trying to think of a catchy name for this, but right now it's community litter pickup events, and we're doing it the first Saturday of each month.
Okay,
so that's,
I'll tell you what,
we don't have a catchy name yet, and we'd love to come up with some great idea. We thought of a few ideas.
Yeah, I'm going to propose then, since you're involving the community in your efforts, let's involve them in the naming of this. And after you watch this, comment on the post in the comment section. And if you've got some names, then I'm sure you'll be taking a look at them and give them consideration.
That's a great idea. Yeah.
Well, we'll see what, hopefully it's not Bodie McBoatface or whatever the name of the Washington State Ferry was. So what have been the biggest challenges for you? Getting the word out, getting nonprofits to participate. You mentioned some others earlier that are doing single day events, and every day is Earth Day. But how can we help you and mitigate some of these challenges that you're dealing with?
Well, this is part of it. The biggest challenge is to try to get the word out to the community. What I have been doing is posting it on Nextdoor as well as Facebook as an event. And then I'm building an email list of people that I can send out a reminder to. So that's the biggest hurdle I've had so far, is to get volunteers out. And the weather in the winter in Issaquah is not always perfect. The first two events were raining pretty hard, so that was another hindrance. So, and this is a dirty job. It's a dirty job, and you need to be, up for doing a dirty job. So, anyway, getting the word out is good, and that's been the biggest hurdle. I would be happy to team up with a civic organization in the future and hand this off to a civic organization and support it through them. But I was just trying to get moving fast because I saw the litter piling up and I wanted to get it worked. And so that's why I took a proactive approach to kind of doing a grassroots event. And I want to keep it very simple. Just show up, bring a pair of gloves, bring a couple trash bags, and spend an hour picking up litter. And also I like the individuals that come to think about where they want to pick up litter and pick up litter where it matters to them. You know, maybe it's their favorite running route. Maybe it's their where they take their kids. Maybe it's around the elementary school or high school, or around the library, places they like to visit, and places where they'll notice the difference every time they go there.
Well, I imagine there's some community service hours here that students could accrue, and for parents who are looking for activities for their kids to help them be good stewards of our environment, and some, civic participation, community involvement. This seems like a great way. And also, we're in the backyard of some large companies that have employee matching programs. So if you work for a company that has matching and those hours can be matched with dollars or other ways to support your efforts, I'd encourage people to get creative and think about how they can do that. And then also, Jonathan, I think, people that want to participate, that can comment on the post and share that they're interested, then you'll follow up with them directly via Facebook or Nextdoor or however.
Right.
Appropriate.
I'll request their email address and I'll add them to an email list, and then I'll send them a note every month before the event, just to remind them of the time and place that we're meeting.
Okay. Now, when one collects all of this trash, you ask them to bring gloves and bags. How do they dispose of the trash? Are they expected to bring that back to their residence and put it in their gray bin, or how is this? Because I'm sure you're going to collect tens of, maybe hundreds of bags. Where's all that get disposed of?
What we've been doing is we've been utilizing the trash bins along the sidewalks within Issaquah. There are quite a few that the city places along the commercial areas. So at least the areas that I've been picking, like the parks and the walkways, there are city supported trash bins available. I think the last course of action would be to take it home and toss it in your own trash, but try to find a spot where you can dispose of it. We don't want people leaving bags along the street at this point in time. I want to give a shout out to the city, Mayor Jane Pauley, and also the council and the administration. I am working with the utilities group now to try to identify where we might place a dumpster in the city where we could drop trash. We're also going to work with some businesses to try to find some businesses that will support this activity and allow us to use their dumpsters.
Great, thank you. Well, Jonathan, based off of the barking earlier, it sounds like you have a canine who wants to get out there and sniff out some trash spots, or whatever your dog does. So thank you so much for your time and what you're doing. This has been another installment of Issaquah Daily Interviews. And if you see Jonathan out on the streets, please thank him and lend a hand. And just before we part ways here, the first Saturday of the month, 9 a.m., meeting at the post office parking lot on Gilman Boulevard. And bring a friend, bring a kid, bring your dog, and let's keep Issaquah clean together, right?
Yes, thank you very much.
Yeah, of course. Thanks, Jonathan. Have a great day.
You too.
Take care.